In the years following the First World War, Germany sought to gain respect in the world community, but also desired self-respect and normalcy in the lives of the citizens. Although German lives daily were hampered by the Great Depression and citizens suffered economic difficulties, normal Germanic life continued. However, a resistance to the status quo was emerging. This element of political action was seeking a new direction for Germany. Brown shirts, militant followers of the early Nazi principles, gained popularity. Their emergence was indicative of Germany's future. The brown shirts were particularly successful in spreading anti-Semitism. On November 9, 1938, brown shirts and other Nazis instituted a nationwide demonstration and started riots that destroyed synagogues and Jewish businesses. That national night of destruction was called Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. Juden boycott was a national boycott on all German-owned businesses. It was declared throughout the country. In this photograph, Germans signs say, "Germans, defend yourself. Don't buy from the Jews." Fervent anti-Semitism was reinforced in both popular literature, the newspapers, and the media. This is from an anti-Semitic propaganda film that shows the Jews as evil and corrupt and intent on world domination. Exaggerations of appearances and so forth of Jewish stereotypes are portrayed not only in the advertising but in the actors. The final climax of the movie, Hitler declares the Jewish race to meet its final destruction through annihilation. As anti-Semitism is embedded in the German culture, roundups and arrests of Jews increase as the Holocaust continues.
Imagine arriving in a train full of boxcars, all loaded with horrified families. It trudges to a stop in southern Poland before this monstrosity of a building complex. This is Auschwitz, also known as Auschwitz-Birkenau. It opened its doors in 1940. It became the largest of the Nazis' concentration camps, and it was the beginning of their death camps. Standard in all of the Nazi camps, such as the same as you see here, was a cow, which was actually the first of the Nazi concentration camps. It opened in 1933, not long after Hitler became Chancellor. After landing in any of these camps, you're separated. Men to one area, women and children to another. You were then registered and assigned a prison number, which was tattooed on your arm if you were sent to Auschwitz. Other camps simply sewed your number into your clothing. You were then further humiliated by being forced to undress, have your head shaved, you showered, your personal clothes were confiscated, you were put in a prison uniform, typically the well-known striped version. From here, you were then assigned a work detail designated for medical experimentation, or you were simply sent for extermination. For medical experimentation, often you were put in the hands of Dr. Joseph Mengele, known as the Angel of Death. He arrived in Auschwitz in 1943. He was no angel, though. He was a monster who performed extreme and brutal experiments. For example, to study eye color, he injected excruciating serums into dozens of children's eyeballs to document their effects. He also held a deep fascination for twins. He would often subject them to chloroform experiments. He would inject it into their hearts, simply to see if they would both die at the same time and in the same manner. These are mere examples of the tortures exacted on prisoners of the camps. There were far more atrocities committed before the Allies were able to step in and begin to alleviate their suffering.
אז הלכנו מכפר לכפר, מעיר לעיר, כל יום עשינו 25 קילומטר. אז הלכנו מכפר לכפר, מעיר לעיר, כל יום עשינו 25 קילומטר. לאן אתם מובילים אותנו? הוא אומר, אין לנו מטרה. המטרה היא שכולם תתפגרו בדרך.
רוח חזקה, בחורף, שלג.
And every day the group was getting smaller and smaller.
הרצח היה בדרך כלל כל הדרך. הרגו בנות בכל מקום.
It was just a killing field. Just a killing field.
ברוב המקרים זה היה קובע מי נשאר בחיים ומי לא. הרצון.
ומה שאכלנו, הלחם נגמר, אכלנו אותו תכף, אז נשאר השלג, התכופפנו, ליקקנו, אכלנו את השלג. לא לכולנו היו כבר נעליים, אז היה לנו נעל מעץ הולנדי. וזה היה קשה, את יודעת, לא היה לנו כוח להרים את הרגל, עוד פעם להכניס.
אני מרגישה שמתחיל הכל להסתובב לסביבי, ואני סוגרת את העיניים והחולשה איומה. ואני מתחילה לדבר אל עצמי. ברוניה, אסור לך למות, תחזיקי מעמד. אם את הגעת עד עכשיו, את תמשיכי.
We knew nothing of the camps, Soviet soldier Ivan Martinushkin recalled in an interview with the Times of Israel many decades later. I remember their faces, especially their eyes, which betrayed their ordeal, he told the Times. After the forced evacuation of Auschwitz, it is estimated that roughly 9,000 had survived by hiding or simply being too sick to participate in the death march, and of those, 7,500 survived the war itself. On the Western Front, on April 29, 1945, soldiers from the U.S. Army's 45th Infantry Division liberated Dachau after a brief battle with the camp's remaining guards. Dachau had been the first concentration camp established in Germany by the Nazis. The camp served as a training center for SS concentration camp guards and was a model for other Nazi concentration camps. As they neared the camp, the Americans found more than 30 railroad cars filled with dead bodies, and in the camp itself, 30,000 survivors, most severely emaciated. Appalled by the conditions at the camp, U.S. soldiers executed at least 30 German SS guards and forced German citizens of the city of Dachau to bury the nearly 10,000 dead left in the camp. The horrors of the war on the battlefield soon paled in comparison as camp after camp were liberated by the Allies, and the full story of the Holocaust became known. By 1945, the Soviet Red Army had advanced into German-occupied Poland and soon came upon a sight that few could imagine. Thousands of emaciated people behind barbed wire, living in filth, along with the dead and the dying. The place, Auschwitz extermination camp. By the time of the Soviet arrival, the SS guards had fled and attempted to destroy as much evidence as they could before fleeing.